Hello again. This time we're talking about coats. Now this customer has brought in his Charlie coat, his Bonnie Prince Charlie, to have the medals mounted. Now he had been mounting the medals with a pin back, which is usual, and he wanted to change that because constantly putting the pin in and out of the garment was eroding the lapel. It was causing damage to the lapel. He wanted to go with a pin back, such as on these medals, but I talked them out of that because that's really not much better. You're still penetrating the cloth, you're still cutting fibers. So what I've done is I have sewn two bar tacks, and those are several passes of heavy silk thread. Fairly discreet, shouldn't be all that visible. It's not going to be invisible when you take the medals off, but the metal bar now goes through those, and it saves the panel of the jacket from the coat from further wear. Now this is formal wear, so there's no reason why he shouldn't just leave the medals in place. If you're in black tie or if you're in white tie, gongs are always appropriate. Now every time somebody brings me a coat, I take a look at it. If I see marking or staining, I'll ask them where that came from, because I'm going to give it a discreet little clean. I'm not going to mention, I possibly may not mention it to them if it's not too horrific a job, but I want to find out where those marks came from, because their chemical composition affects what I'm going to use to clean. If in many cases it's just food or something like that, I can use, well, first I'm going to brush all over. I have a lint brush, but that's as good as it goes for, that takes lint off and that's it. I have a clothes brush, and this thing's probably, well, undoubtedly far older than I am. I keep it away from everything else so I don't accidentally brush my shoes with it. So I give her a good brush down. I'm checking the hang of everything. This is off the rack, but it's very nicely cut, unlike this service dress jacket where the seam is far too forward. It's a bit of a nightmare. So I give it a wee brush down. There are a couple of slight stains on it. First thing I'm going to try to do is a clean face cloth, dabbed in a bit of water, and I'm giving it sort of a twisting action. I'm not rubbing it in. I don't want to force it any deeper. I'm trying to lift it off. And if that works, or if it doesn't quite work, I'll escalate to a little bit of ivory hand soap. Same thing with the dab. And I'm working in a very small area, and then I flush it. I clean it with a clean cloth in clean water, cold water, and we do that. Now, if it's again, I asked what it was, because if it's something like blood, I don't want to use something like heat, because that will fix the blood to the cloth, and there's just no way you're going to get it off. So I've given it a once over. I've checked for any loose threads. I see a little loose thread right here. I'm going to send my scissors down onto the floor, but let's just keep rolling tape. And I'm just going to carefully trim that off. If I have a loose thread, I don't pull it. I snip it off close. Right, so this is looking pretty smart. He's very lucky in that even though this is an off-the-rack jacket, it actually fits him very well indeed. In this case, as you see, I've paired it with a tartan waistcoat with a tartan cut on the diagonal in the pattern of the Seaforth Highlanders. Now, having worn your jacket, hang it up when you get home. Just don't throw it on the floor. Hang it up on a good clothes hanger. And you hang it up somewhere where it can air out and just breathe a little bit before you put it away. And the next day, when it's thoroughly dry and it's aired out a wee bit, put it in a garment bag. They don't have to be terribly fancy, but the function of a garment bag is to protect it from dust. And you don't notice it at a time, but it gradually builds up. And I've seen coats that were so dusty in the shoulders, they actually looked somewhat airbrushed. It's a bit disappointing to see. One other trick with a coat, when you put it on, everybody tends to stretch up like that with their arms.